My name is Susan Benedyka. I ran as an independent Senate candidate in the 2022 federal government election.
My name is Karen Kim. I ran as a Senate candidate for Victoria with the Australian Federation Party in the 2022 federal election.
I'm also an alum of the Pathways to Politics program run through the University of Melbourne.
And I'm an alum of the Pathways to Politics program for women.
25 years ago, when I did the Australian Rural Leadership Program, we spent an entire day with senators and looking at how the Senate works and with the Australian Parliament House Education Office. And I love the idea of collaboration, really doing deep work with inquiries and committees, and being able to collaborate across the House to come out with great recommendations for Australia.
The government can and should reflect what Australia really looks like and represent the voices of the diversity of the Australian people.
The second one is that I'm a founding member of Voices for Indi, and that was about doing politics differently.
I wanted to make an impact, and I thought there just wasn't enough representation of people who look like me in the Senate.
We've subsequently elected two fantastic independent MPs, Cathy McGowan and Dr. Helen Haynes. To me, I think it's a job half done if we're only electing great independents into the lower house. I think we need that sort of community-minded thinking in the Senate as well. So the three distinct areas of difference. You are representing a state, not a small defined geographic area like the House of Representatives. The issues are more likely to be broad, big scope issues, and you still need to be able to present a solution to those and how you would work in the Senate. And the third one is that there is a really clear need for identity or profile so that when people walk in and see that table slab, big tablecloth Senate paper, they know who to vote for and how to direct their vote.
For me, the Senate position was more appealing because as a business owner, I just found that it was more big picture, and it was like running an engine and seeing how all the cogs and gears worked, but what needed maintenance, what needed the oil, and just seeing an overview rather than getting into the nitty-gritty. So I felt that that was more suited to my character and my skills.
In a House of Reps seat, it's a really defined geographic area, and even though those areas might be large, you can get a sense of community and what the pockets are thinking and how they're working and how you might interact with them. When I was going around and around and around the state as a Senate candidate, I felt like a thin smear of Vegemite across the state. It was just very difficult to get a sense of what mattered on the ground, to get a sense of movement. So it's really how you make that connection on the ground.
Because it gave me an insight into how little people understood about the Senate position. And in fact, even my family, some members of my family said they didn't vote for me because they didn't think that I was representing their electorate. I could not believe it.
It's very hard to get into the Senate, so the pathway is much more difficult. And what we've seen in the last election, it reinforces the view that it's about a brand and a personality. So you either have a personal brand that is very strongly recognised by people, or who you represent has a brand above the line. For example, if you're running for the Liberal Party, the Labor Party, the Greens Party, they have a specific brand that you vote for above the line. I ran with another colleague, and we had just a box above the line. It was a bare box. It's really very, very difficult to get any cut through doing that.
There is a lot of education to be had to inform the people of Australia, to not only try to entice them to become engaged and be excited about the election and the fact that they can actually make a contribution to the future of our country, but making it palatable for them to understand how to vote, how they can get involved and what it means. So just going really to the basics.
In the future, the Voices for the Senate Party has now been established, and they will have a clear identity that says, vote for us above the line, and here are the candidates below the line that you can really have a look at.
If we make it easier for them and just make it in a language that they can understand, especially the multicultural communities, I found that I really had to spell it out for them and have arrows and diagrams in my pamphlets to my community in particular to not only get them interested in voting, but showing them how to vote. Brand, budget and resources would be my three key things that I would focus on and prepare for the next time round.
Financial resources, time resources, people resources.
Budget is key. Budget is key because you really need that for resources, which is the second point. Resources as in manpower. You just can't do everything. Even if you have some people to help, we were just really spread thin.
There's just a huge benefit in running with the support of communities because the people resources were really coming up everywhere, but needing more people resources was just something that, I wish I knew before I ran, and would see that that's something we've got to really think about in the future, how those localised campaigns can really work to also get a senator elected.
If I were to run again, then I would have a lot more lead time.
Even though I'm regionally based, and rural and regional Victoria is a real passion of mine and how that area is represented, the votes lie in the city. And I would have spent much more time working on getting those city votes.
Look at it like a business. So there's a lot more pre-planning and brand building and strategizing. These are things that I probably didn't have the chance to do with a month before the actual election.
So I think another thing I'd wished I'd known is the power of local communities and local community engagement. I've already seen that quite fundamentally in the shift to independence in the lower house, but we wanted to harness that shift for the upper house. Really what happened though in this last election was that people were so concentrating on their lower house seats, they did not want to be seen to be associated with anything outside their own electorate. They wanted to be able to concentrate and do the work there. So it's a real choice that needs to be made in the future about how to engage on-ground campaigns and have them comfortable with saying, here's a like-minded person in the Senate that you might wish to direct your votes to.
I think for the sake of building a brand and authenticity, you should really take it as a long-term prospect rather than expect people to believe and trust in your authenticity if you're suddenly changing your persona from a business person or a hospitality retail worker or what have you to suddenly a Senate candidate.
Talking to peers, talking to people who've run for election before, talking to those who are elected, being able to find out what it is that you're likely to come up against. But until you do it, you don't really know what it's about. So it's putting yourself forward, having the courage every single day to stand up, speak to the media again, get out in front, talk to people, and for me, listen, listen, listen.
It's important to listen. Everything's relevant. When you're in politics, absolutely all the minutiae is relevant because they're all valid for your constituents. So that's what I would urge you. Take a long-term view to the strategy and know about everything. Listen to everything.
Doing the Pathways to Politics program is certainly one of the very many tools that you can put together The book, Getting Elected, is extraordinary for the way in which it shows you how you might go about putting together your strategy, getting the people around you, being able to harness those ideas and sell those ideas.
From my experience and from others I've spoken with, it's important to be aligned with your party. And I know this is very difficult to be completely aligned with every single member of your party, but either you align yourself to a party that fits like hand in glove, or go as an independent.
We need great, diverse representation, and it only happens when people have the courage to put their hand up and go for it.